Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that can hear the sound of my voice, to this week's edition of the Petty and Informed podcast, where I am so tired it's not even funny. I've been at Popfest all day. Check out the gratuitous Popfest merch I got on the screen. How is everybody else doing?
I'm all right. Really sad that I missed Popfest because it seems like exactly what I would be into.
It was a total. Well, it did what it said on the tin. It was a festival of pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not my kind of pot, though.
Not your kind of pot. Pot as in pottery, not weed.
Just disappointing, you know?
But yes, I went to Potfest and they were selling T-shirts, and I was like, "Well, I've got to get a Potfest T-shirt."
Sweet. Love it.
Glorious.
Well, what exactly is it then? Oh, people are into pottery.
Okay, so, imagine like a car boot sale, right? In like a barn, like a big car boot sale. Everyone's there, and they've got their little stores, and but it's all pottery.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to describe Popfest. It was in a cattle building, you know, with the pens and everything. But instead of cows, it was people with desks that were filled with pottery. Some of it was just like so generic Donnell Milne stuff, and some of it was, you know, really creative and really good.
Okay.
So yeah, Popfest. That's what I did today.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That looks like fun.
So what have you guys been up to?
Nikki?
I am currently sitting on the rooftop of a hospital parking garage. And my mom's been in the hospital, so that's what I've been doing the last couple days. Just coming here. That's it.
That's
That
it.
and work. My life is boring, Tom. What you been up to?
Well, I was hoping that my phone would cooperate and it would let me load up some pictures from today. I'm just seeing how cooperative it is or isn't being.
Oh shit! I almost forgot the most important story. Sorry, Tom.
Oh no, you're all good.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I wouldn't let you forget that, Richard.
So no, I had a really nice day today, but yeah, I'm not sure if my phone will load up the pictures of it and let me share them. Yeah, I plugged it into my Chromebook, but it's struggling to find all the pictures.
What did you get up to? We don't have to have pictures. It's okay.
Okay. I was. I just had a day out on the local miniature railway line. It goes across the part of the south coast of Kent for about an hour. This was meant to be a birthday present for me last year, but we couldn't make it happen until now. And I met up with a friend of mine from work called Bonnie. Bonnie's two children, who are both late teenagers, and one of them has just had a baby girl, and baby boy, sorry. And Vinny came along with us, and we met in a town called Hythe at about 10 o'clock, and we got this 10:30 train out to a place called Dungeness, which is it's like a little hamlet. There's all these various little shacks, and yeah, that was really cool. So when we got there, we walked for about half an hour to this pub and had a gorgeous, massive pub lunch and a full meal. And that was brilliant. It was really nice. I had a sort of, I think it was a vegetable stew with dumplings served with chips and vegetables. It was really massive meal. Didn't need to eat again till like 9 o'clock this evening, a couple of hours ago. We just had a couple of little wraps. And then we went back and we had time before our train left to go up this lighthouse, and we went up there. It was very blowy. And the stairs in the lighthouse, this spiral staircase, was quite precarious. But we made it, and just had a really, really nice day out. But Bonnie was really grateful, and we had just had a great time. Bonnie's somebody who has been a good friend of mine at my workplace for a couple of years, but recently she's actually been put in my team, and so we've been working together directly. I was a bit worried that some things might go really wrong, because the more time you spend with someone, the more there is to go wrong. And but so far, touch wood, it hasn't. We've got along pretty well, and so things are staying pretty good at work. Touch wood for now.
What Tom's referring to is his sexual magnetism. He is irresistible to all women, and the more time he spends with them, the more chance there will be of that woman falling desperately in love with him.
And meanwhile on planet Earth, we're pretty good friends.
Yes, that was the joke. Anyway, so again, because some people complain, the game is Dead Island 2. I'm just running around killing zombies on it. It's tremendous fun. And secondly, the most important story, just going to pause the game and give this, is that I was completely right, and everyone that doubted me is officially a moron, and that includes Nikki.
Right, about what?
About a month ago, we did a story on this show because some genetic company said they'd resurrected direwolves, and I said they were full of shit. And now the company themselves, under public scrutiny, have had to come out and say, yeah, all right, we didn't make direwolves. They're just merely genetically engineered grey wolves, which is what I said.
You did say that, and I agreed with you. I don't know why you threw my name in there. Like I was disagreeing with you that they were just a hybrid. Me. Yeah, that's what happened. 100%.
Anyone that wants to go back to that show can listen to how Nikki spent an entire episode arguing with me that this company had brought back the direwolf. And I was
you don't need to tell them to do that, because they're going to, and your gaslighting won't work.
I'm not gaslighting you. You gaslight yourself by acting crazy. But yes.
I heard this story as well, but I wasn't in on the podcast that day we did it.
Are you on the podcast?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my son's turned up. Yes, Dan, I'm on the podcast.
Oh, it's happening again. Me interrupting as always.
Yes, you're interrupting.
Hello, bad son.
What do you want? Do you want to go?
What did your friends just say to you?
Nothing. We're just talking about a news article.
What a news article?
Oh, it's about some scientists claimed that they'd managed to resurrect an extinct species called direwolf, but it was BS.
Spoiler.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It was.
See, Richard, no one was disagreeing with you.
It's not cool unless someone was disagreeing with me, Nikki.
It's all in your head.
Yeah, they seem stupid, that scientist. Respectfully.
No, they're just stupid. You don't have to be respectful about it.
Richard, by telling us, by saying...
Okay, they're a fucking idiot then.
That's it. Oh, yeah. Blessed be the Son, for he speaketh the truth.
I'm off now.
He's going. Go and make a pot noodle. Okay. Says he doesn't want a pot noodle in the end. Okay. So I read about this in the Week magazine, and that also said it was lame, and it was not scientifically correct at all.
Mhm.
Yes, all right. No one disagreed with me. Everyone said I was right, that they were idiots and they were lying. But it's just better. It's better if we pretend. Okay? Can we just pretend? Can you just give me that?
Can we just give Richard his delusions?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you've
give
been
me
watching
one delusion for one show.
You've been watching EastEnders too long, mate. Not every conversation has to be loaded with conflict, despite what the residents of Albert Square might have you believe.
EastEnders destroyed me this week, man. It just. Oh, there were tears. It was horrible. It was 2 horrible episodes in a row.
Okay, what happened?
Oh man, Lawrence Baby is blind, and the actress did a really good job of conveying the mother's grief, and it hit me right in the feels because they'd all been gaslighting her and telling her nothing was wrong with the kid, and she just kept pushing forward, and in the end, she was vindicated, but it wasn't a good result, and it was horrible to watch.
I did not give a shit.
Nikki didn't care because she's an emotionless robot.
Well, no, because they're like, my baby's blind, my life is over, and I'm like, listen, like they can do so much now and not be able to see. Like it's not the end of the fucking world because your son is blind. Like you didn't fuck anything up. Stuff happens, and sometimes kids are blind. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible parent or your drug addicted ways made you this way. Like it fucking happens sometimes. I didn't see what the big deal was.
Okay, well, and the next episode, Stacy had to let go of Martin finally, and it was just, final goodbye to Martin, which was
sad.
Which was very sad, and I made the mistake of watching that episode with my cold, emotionless robot girlfriend who ruined it.
How did I ruin it? I didn't say anything bad during that time. Thank you very much.
What was it you said? Oh, God, I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, it's just been a rough week on EastEnders. But anyway, I was right about these being genetically engineered direwolves. And further cherry on the cake, I thought that they'd be genetically modified with at least 50 edits to the Dean sequence. Turns out it's only 20. So they're just basically enhanced grey wolves.
Yup. Wow.
So they're just, and again, what are they going to do with them? So,
right.
Yeah.
It's a good question. What are they going to do with them?
Just stick them in a zoo somewhere. I mean, what was the point in all this?
Because they can.
Yeah, because they can.
They don't ask if they should. They just, because they can.
Yeah. Yep. So that was the awesome news that I was completely right and everyone doubted me.
Yeah.
Cappy,
that's exactly how it went down.
Can't fuck them. Yeah, you're right. You can't fuck them. Can't have them for dinner. Yep. They're just pointless. Pointless thing to do when there's so much real conservation work that needs to happen. And instead we waste our money on pandas and genetically engineered direwolves. Well, grey wolves. Oh, I fell into the trap there. But, saving reed warbler isn't as sexy as pretending to resurrect the direwolf. So that's,
that's
that's
true.
the world we live in.
I'd hate for us to do something with science that actually benefits humans, but
Or like, an animal worth saving.
Right, one that's not already extinct.
One that's, prepared to have sex to save its species. God, I hate pandas so much. All right.
Without panda porn.
Without panda porn. Speaking of panda porn, Tom, you wanted to discuss one of your kinks with us tonight.
What? That's
That was great. What?
no, I don't. No, I didn't. I wondered if, but I don't know if Nikki, you have the time and space for this tonight. But I was hoping
Yeah,
we could talk about the church and sex.
always. I'm always
Yeah.
down for this conversation.
Who in the chat heard that sentence and didn't think it was a kink for Tom? Like, be real. Be real, chat.
Let's talk about the church and sex. So you like your wife to like dress up in a nun outfit, is what I heard.
No, I dress up in the nun outfit. She dresses up as the Pope.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Just sacrilegious in all sorts of ways.
Exactly.
Like, you know, very.
Oh, I just discovered my kink.
Oh dear. Well, that's far enough journey down that road. So, no, what I wanted to do was an old Christian friend of mine has recently. We've spoken more in the last, pardon me, in the last 6 months than we have in the probably the previous 20 years.
Wow.
I met her at university, and we've been pretty good buddies ever since. I used to be a Christian. I was a Christian. We met at Christian Union, and she still is. I'm not at all. I would class myself as completely agnostic, but we've had some interesting conversations recently about, because of a book that she read, we've talked about these, just so many of the problems to do with the church and sex. And I know that Nikki, you've got loads of beef in this area as well.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
You can go
Your
first.
sex tape.
Okay. All right, I'll be quick. In short, or attempting to be in short, the church, when I was growing up, the church basically would send one message. It had one singular message, which was you don't have sex till you're married.
Correct.
And that was like, and everything seemed to stem from that. So, and that, it comes from a good, arguably it comes from a good place. I mean, for some people, that thing really works, of like, saving yourself for your one true love, blah, blah, blah. And, I think the church is obviously keen for children to be born in situations of wedlock. But, I mean, but it just causes it by placing so much emphasis on this. So there are so many unanticipated and unexpected problems. So I'm just going to reel them off. Firstly, it doesn't do anything to celebrate sex at all. And to, it's just automatically assumed that, oh, well, of course, when you're married, you should do it and you should have a great time. Well, actually, no, you're never told that. And I know of at least one person who definitely has made, who I'm pretty convinced has seriously psychological hang-ups about being able to enjoy it. Their partner has complained to me that they can only really go for it if they're actually trying to conceive. Otherwise, the atmosphere just isn't the same. And it just doesn't quite work. And I've read about people that have had a lot of hang-ups. Firstly, it gives no capacity for there to be any problems when you're married. If you aren't enjoying it, then, well, hang on, especially if you're a woman and you're not enjoying it, it's like, well, what's wrong with you?
Right.
You're allowed to do it. You're in freedom land now. Woohoo, great. Well, hey, what do you mean you're not enjoying it? There's no recognition for that. There's a huge amounts of shame and guilt piled on, and it's been in the past, it's been absolutely terrible. I know of somebody who visited, when part of their job was looking after people who were in an institution of some kind, and there was somebody in there who had a baby outside of wedlock in the 1950s. They were diagnosed with nymphomania, basically, and put away, and absolutely shunned, and given all sorts of therapy. And the therapy has driven this person absolutely insane. I think they're full of dementia now, but it's really unpleasant. And yeah, I mean, I've sort of skirted around a lot of that. The details are horrible, but it seems this person has been institutionalized all their life for daring to have a baby outside of wedlock. Yeah, and that happened in this country not too long ago. Yeah. So there are just some of the problems. Now, here's an interesting one. I was given this table. If I sent you this table, Richard, could you share it? Because I will not be able to do it justice. This is from a Christian book that is saying, hang on, guys, we've got this wrong all our lives. We need to get this right. We need to get this right. Here are some of the problems, and I'd need, if you can bring up the table I've just sent you, Richard, it would be a big help, and I'll explain what it means, because it is really alarming stuff. It shows they did a survey amongst lots and lots of Christian women, and they asked them the same question in 4 different contexts. Firstly, that's the one. Nice. Okay, so let's look at the first row. Boys will want to push girls' sexual boundaries. Now, where it says that first column, agreed before marriage, 88%, that means of all the women surveyed, 88% of them said, yes, before I was married, I would have agreed with that. And then the next column along, to what do you believe that this message is taught by the church, Christian media, and or family before you're married? And 62% of women felt that. So felt that there was a message coming from more than half of women interviewed and surveyed said that they believed the church and Christian institutions and everything sends the message that boys will want to push girls' sexual boundaries. That includes Christian boys. And then it's how much of them agree with that currently. I think that is true now. Is the third column, which is 81%. And how many people believe that this message is still being taught by Christians now? 40%. And so let's look at some of these that are really, really misogynistic, or they give absolutely no. Well, let's read them, and let's see what the picture is painted. Let's look at that third one down. If you have sex before your marriage, that means you have less of yourself to give to your future spouse because part of you will always belong to someone else. Well, 76% of people, of these women surveyed, said, I felt that way before I was married, and I felt the church was told that.
Oh, they 100% tell you that.
Yeah. Now, I have a massive, massive issue with that because it's absolute bullshit. And it's not in the real world. In the real world, what matters is your previous experiences. What have they done to you? Have you been sexually abused? And are you absolutely traumatized? And you've got a hell of a lot of problems to work through.
Right.
Before you can have a healthy sexual relationship.
Yeah.
That in the real world, that's the kind of thing that matters. Or in your relationship, both sexually and generally in a relationship, have you learned from your experiences the importance of kindness and giving and putting the other person first? I mean, that's what that's the kind of thing that really matters. That Whether or not you've had sex before or not is absolutely irrelevant. And I mean, oh. And what is virginity and what is not? I mean, okay, I know I've heard on more than one occasion that Christian women or young Christian girls were outstanding at giving blowjobs because that's all they did. They didn't have sex, and so by actually not having penetration, they were brilliant at all the other things.
Yeah, but I've said it before the show, but you weren't around. Richard was laughing at me. It's called the poop hole loophole, where you can have sex through the butt. And I know many, many young Baptist girls who were doing this. They're not supposed to have sex because of virginity, but they would have anal with their boyfriend.
Oh my good God. They did that in season 1 of Downton Abbey, by the way. You can still be a virgin for your husband with a little imagination.
Right. And that's the crazy thing is because, like, you're right. What is virginity? Is it sleeping with somebody else? Is it your hymen not being intact? Because, surprise, some people are born with hymens that aren't intact. You can tear your hymen riding a horse, doing a cartwheel, falling off of a chair, like whatever. You can bust your hymen very, very easily. So does that make you no longer a virgin?
No.
Because, are we talking about skin?
Is somebody that's never had sex.
So is it though?
It doesn't matter the state of your hymen. If you've never had sex, you're a virgin.
What if you've had sex? What if you masturbated and used the dildo or put your fingers inside yourself? Shock horror.
Still doesn't count because it's not sex.
Because you weren't with somebody. You're saying that sex is insert A into slot B. Period. That's all it is.
Yeah. In its simplest definition.
I mean, I'd be fine with that. So you're saying if she was giving anal sex, she is still a virgin?
Well, she's a pussy virgin, but she's not an ass virgin.
So
wow.
50% virgin.
I'd never heard of the poop hole loophole. But so what you've got now, I talked about unintended side effects and unintended consequences. Well, it doesn't get much bigger than teenage girls having sex in that way. Anal, my God. Because
right, like how many women do you know like make their husbands wait for a special occasion to have anal, or they can't have anal at all? And these girls are starting their husbands or boyfriends out on anal immediately. But then again, I came from a church that heavily was against dating before you're ready to get married. They spoke against kissing your boyfriend or girlfriend, because I married my wife and the first time I kissed her was on our wedding day. First of all, bullshit. But secondly, maybe that's probably why you diddled some kids in the bathroom.
That's terrible.
I really feel like the guilt and the severe lack of education that the church will provide for teenagers and youth, I'll just bust it out. I think I've told this story before, but I'll say it again. My sister-in-law, when my 17-year-old niece was in labor, my 14-year-old niece and my 15-year-old nephew was with me. I was not allowed to tell them what centimeters dilated meant. They didn't understand how babies came to be. And the sister got pregnant because she didn't know what condoms were. No one had told her about condoms. So, surprise, here comes baby. And, she's 17 years old, had never heard about a condom. And I remember while she was pregnant, I said something about how I preferred boys instead of girls. Diaper changes are easy. And I said, I said something about the labia, and the mother lost her shit on me and yelled at me for saying labia in front of her 14-year-old daughter, because, you know, that's dirty and not for a young girl to know about until her mama told her, which, by the way, another person that got pregnant very young. All three of the kids got either pregnant or their girlfriend pregnant at a young age because they had no idea. I think that when you put that much guilt and that much kind of stigma about sex, you're inviting curiosity that isn't going to be nurtured properly. So that curiosity is going to be nurtured not by asking somebody questions, but by watching pornography. You know, because that also is, ooh, it's wrong. You know, it's taboo. It makes it more dangerous to watch pornography when you think that your soul's on the line, you know, but then it leads to repression, I think. Like, I saw that list, that graph that you had put up, and I was not very surprised by it, because I can't tell you how often, especially women and young girls, are conditioned within the church that they are to grow up, be a wife, have the babies, and whatever the husband wants is what the husband gets, because he's the head of the household. So in order to properly love God, you've got to submit to your husband, and that causes a lot of issues further down in relationships. There's a lot of, the men learn most of what they learn from pornography, so they're not any good in bed. No one ever told them that they need to respect their wives in bed. That's not for them. They don't have to do that. You know, that's not a calling for them to make sure that their wife is taken care of in that way. Their wife is supposed to submit to them and give their body over. But like, if you have it the opposite direction, in which case I have, it's never on the man. Like, it's always the woman's fault. You know, I was in marriage counseling after not having sex with my husband for like 7 years, and everything. There was like a list that they had for me. Have you tried wearing sexy things? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Is the house clean? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you tried this? And only after I said I have done all of these things did the pastor look at my husband like maybe my husband wasn't doing something right. But I had to meet all of these criteria before anything in my marriage wasn't my fault. You know, was I giving, you know, was I dressing sexy? Was I cleaning the house? Was I not, you know, complaining whenever I got home about work? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, people wonder why women are doing like the 4B movement and stuff. It's because we're finally deconstructing these thought processes that have been hammered into our heads since the beginning of time. You go home, you find man, you get married, you have kids, you bend over backwards to make him as happy as possible, because maybe you'll get a little slice of the pie.
Jesus.
Those are my feelings on it. But I think that I think that that's why you see so many youth pastors and so many pastors in general getting in trouble sexually, because they've stigmatized it so much. They made it dirty. They haven't discussed it in a healthy way. It's a non-discussion.
Yeah.
Sex in marriage, good, regardless of what's going on. Sex out of marriage, bad, regardless of what's going on. That sex in marriage, if she's getting the crap beat out of her and that's his thing, as long as he's getting his rocks off and she is serving her husband, quote unquote, to the best of her ability, then it doesn't matter how she feels about it.
Well, look at that bottom one over here in the table. A wife is obliged to give her husband sex when he wants it. I mean, before anything, that is written from a perspective that, like, the purpose of sex is for a man's pleasure and not a woman's.
that's not just a religious thing. My mom, who is religious now, like I didn't grow up going to church, so I wouldn't say that she was a particularly religious person, but you know, I'm sure her mom told it to her and her mother told it to her. But I remember my mom at a very young age, I knew since probably the age of 7 or 8, that if you are with someone and you love them and they want sex, you give them that sex regardless of how you feel, or they will go elsewhere. I mean, it was hammered into me at a very young age that that's the way life is. If you love the person that you're with and they want to have sex, even if you don't, you say yes, or else they are obliged to go elsewhere and it's your fault.
God damn.
You know, I think it's just something that's been 100% ingrained into us, not even just as a religious society, but as a patriarchal society, that women don't, that's why having bodily autonomy is such a big deal, you know, with like, because we have so little of it. Like we just got to where, at least in America, we could have credit cards and own our own land. Like my sister was born the year that women were allowed to get credit cards in the United States. Like, you know, she was born in 76. Women couldn't have credit cards till 76. We have been 100% squashed by the patriarchy, and now that we're able to have jobs and do our own thing, they don't know what the hell to do.
Is there still, especially sort of where you are in the South, an awful lot of pressure to keep to these gender norms? The fifth one down, it's a man's God-given role to provide for his family and a woman's God-given role to stay at home raising her children.
Yep. Which is crazy because Christian men expect the same. They expect the same amount of work from women now as they did back in the 50s. So men still expect for you to work a full 40-hour week, come home, do the dishes, take care of the kids, do all the cleaning, do all the cooking, all of that stuff. In a Christian home, that is still your job. 100%. The husband doesn't have to do anything to help, and the church is going to back him because he has penis, but they still expect, and a lot of the red-pilled kids nowadays, the young guys really expect it. They want their wife to stay home and have babies, but they don't understand that in today's economy, you can't stay home and have babies. It's impossible. Well, darn near, unless you're just going to live in squalor and, you know, not be able to survive very well. If you want to live super poor, you can with one income, but the average American family can't afford a one income family, but it's still expected. It's still the gold standard. And a lot of women in the church that do work full jobs and hard jobs are often looked down upon because they can't dedicate their whole life to their family and their husband.
Right.
Because God forbid he has to make dinner one night because you're working late.
I had a friend who went out to America, and they're still there. It's a different friend to the person before, and they were in a very rich, wealthy church, and there was some sort of luncheon with all the ladies of the church, and they all got together. And they were all talking about their portfolios. So they all had like an allowance from their husbands for them to invest.
Yeah.
But I don't, as far to my knowledge at least, none of the women had earned any of this money themselves. They were all sort of dependent on their husbands. But in this,
which is dangerous.
Well, yeah.
It's really a dangerous precedence with women. You know, I have a friend that I've had for 28 years. And she was a stay-at-home mom, very conservative Christian, got married and just had 8 children, baby after baby after baby. She had never had a job before. He was making 6 figures. And, you know, when this man left her for another woman, he left her with no experience for jobs. And she couldn't take care of herself. He wound up with a 6-figure income, getting the kids and getting child support. And she got nothing. And there's so many women like that where they were like, I'm going to be a traditional wife, a nice little trad wife. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to have the babies. I'm going to take care of my husband. And they go through all of that. They stay home. They do their duty. And then their husband leaves for whatever reason. And then those women are stuck with a shit ton of kids and no job experience. So they can't get a job except for like at McDonald's or Walmart. They have nothing. And it's really sad.
It really is. My God. Oh, hang on. There's a film about that, Mona Lisa Smile.
Yep.
You seen that, Nikki? Probably.
I have.
Yeah. And that explores that, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I like that whole, the only biblical reason for divorce is an affair. 100%. If he's beating you, then you're not doing what you should. You should be more godly and pray for him harder, and maybe he'll stop beating you. Because if he wasn't so angry all the time, then he wouldn't beat you, and you must be doing something.
Well, let me guess. His anger is your fault.
100%. Always. You know, I've heard it before.
How much is this still happening?
A lot. It still happens every day. Every day. I left the church about a decade ago, and it was still happening. I have a lot of very churchy people in my life, and they still hold on and maintain those belief systems, you know, of basically doing everything for your spouse. And, you know, even if your husband doesn't leave you, you're going to find yourself eventually waking up and realizing that you've wasted your life on someone who didn't invest in you the same amount. But yeah, like the only biblical reason for divorce is an affair. Like I said, the beating thing, it's still very much a, well, what did you do to make him hit you? I've never heard a Christian woman in a biblical setting, like at church, because I've heard women talk about abusive husbands at church. I have never heard anybody say, you need to leave. I have always heard, well, you need to pray harder.
Oh my God.
Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Are you putting on your makeup before he gets home? You know, are you making homemade meals and not just sticking a pizza in the oven? You know, that kind of thing.
Oh my God. That is it. I mean,
they have they have an entire book called Fireproof and a movie based on a couple who are just not doing well. And so the main character is given a book that basically has him dating his wife or whatever, and their marriage comes back together at the end because he followed all of these things. But for the most part, I haven't seen men being pushed fireproof. I've seen it given to women. I've been given that book personally to help in my marriage.
In the book, does the guy take any responsibility?
So basically what it is basically a book about how to suck up and love bomb your spouse. It's like, okay, well, make sure that you tell her that you really appreciate her. Do something nice for her today. It's like basically 40 days of you trying to woo your spouse again, doing things for your spouse that you probably haven't done in a while. And whilst it's really good, I mean, cool. If you guys need to rekindle or whatever, and you realize that you're not doing certain things, then you should read the book, and maybe it will help out. But it's not going to fix things that are irreparably broken. It's not going to make your husband stop beating you. It's not going to make your wife stop beating you. You know, it might make them happy for a few days, but at the end of the day, they could still be resistant to it. But it is basically just, here's 40 days of trying hard.
Shouldn't be 40
Which-
days. It should be a permanent
Right,
lifelong
which-
commitment to change. And to
Right.
being a better person.
Right. And if it's been 20 years and they haven't changed even a lick in those 20 years, despite seeing whatever, you being nice to them for 40 days isn't going to change something that is fundamental within that person. At least I don't think. But then again, I don't think people change too horribly much. Do you think that all
No.
men struggle with lust and it's every man's battle?
Yes.
I agree with that, but I think women are the same way. And you
I
know
think
what? If a
all
man,
human beings struggle with lust.
I agree with that. But my thing is you don't see men like doing things to be more modest around women. But women, if we show our cleavage, we're whores. Men can take off their whole shirt with their six pack and their luscious hair, and we can, it's totally okay for that because women can control themselves. But,
I have never accused a woman ever of being a whore for showing cleavage.
I know you've only thanked her
I've only thanked her
for her
saluted her,
service.
and said, "Thank you for blessing me with such a nice view."
But you get what I'm saying. Like girls
not a
are
whore.
girls are also blamed with the boys'
Yeah.
struggle for lust.
One of my favorite jokes is, "Look at what they were wearing,"
Yep.
because I find it to be absolutely ludicrous for rape apologists to say that.
It hits a new low when we start talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, like, but
what
have
were you
you
wearing?
Yeah, there's an entire art, like a museum art exhibit called "What Was She Wearing?" And it's just a bunch of articles of clothing of what women were wearing when they were raped. A lot of them are like hoodies, jeans, regular ass t-shirt. Not many of them are provocative at all. When I got raped, I was wearing a shirt that was like 3 times too large for me and a pair of cargo jeans. I was completely covered. Like, you couldn't even see my ankles. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no cleavage. There was no nothing. And it happened. But it's a very sobering exhibit. I think you can see it online too. But it's what they were wearing when they got raped, and very seldom is it anything provocative at all.
Oh man, it's so sad. And just infuriating. It makes you so angry that, I mean, it's seen it so many times. They even did that in Star Trek Deep Space Nine once when Gul Dukat started up his own cult. He did exactly that and blamed a Bajoran woman that he couldn't keep it in his pants. But closer to home, this is really serious. It's terrible. And does that still happen? Are women still victim blamed when they're raped?
Yes. So, I don't know. Mine was like, what would you say, 12, 15 years ago, Richard? When I went, so not that long, within the last decade, but I know that the particular counselor that I went to did this to someone after they did it to me, at least 2 people afterwards. And I think that they still counsel women. So I was told to look in a mirror and to really examine myself and ask myself if I didn't subconsciously want the rape. And we're not talking about like the guy that raped me. He had never stepped foot in this church before, was not a Christian. They did not know who he was. So it's not like he was a major, player within the church. He wasn't like a deacon or anything. He had never been in the church, and they still were finding a way to blame it on me. And, and the courts don't do much better either, because part of the reason why I didn't go to the police is because I already knew if we went to court, since I had cheated on my husband, I guess 10 years before that or whatever at that point, I knew that they were going to bring that up. It's not legal for them to do, but they do it anyway. So they would have been like, oh, you cheated 5 or 6 years ago, so obviously you didn't get raped. They do that still to this day. So I never went to the police. I didn't report it, but I did go to counseling at church where they basically said, you brought this on yourself. Why were you alone with this person? Which at that point I wasn't alone. When I walked into the when I walked into the house with this person, there were other people there. So it's not like I was just like, yeah, let's go to your room and fuck. It wasn't like that at all. I only went in there to put something down that we had bought, and then I was going to leave. I had no intention of staying more than 30 seconds. So, but the pastor asked me that. He asked me if I didn't subconsciously want it. A young girl at that time was 13. She got guards at the church.
Hello?
Nikki?
She's gone.
Oh well.
That's
Well, we can stop the screen share now, Richard, if you wish. Yeah, but Nikki maybe got cut off. I'm not sure, but oh my word, what a mess! What a sorry, godforsaken, literally godforsaken for a church. All this is, oh my word. I mean, some of the stuff we talked about tonight, you can see it's arguably well intended, but a massive misfire. But a lot of what we've heard and what we've talked about is just absolutely ghastly. Inexcusably and irredeemably ghastly.
Yeah. There's nothing that you can say.
No. Oh well. Okay. One more thing. If we're going to talk about the church, I've just finished watching a film called Small Things Like These, which is a rather good Cillian Murphy starring film. And yeah, Hannah, my wife, and I just finished watching that. We watched it earlier tonight, and that's about what went on in these convent places, especially in the Republic of Ireland, and they didn't stop till the late 90s, where girls who had sex and had a kid out of wedlock, never mind the bloke, never mind the man and what's happened to him, but this woman who's giving birth outside of wedlock, taken from their child and You see it in the film Philomena, see it in a different way in this one I've just watched, small things like these. And these women are just treated absolutely terribly in different ways. They've even uncovered mass graves. About 10
Yep.
years ago, I think I remember a news article where they discovered a load of mass graves. I can't remember if it was for babies or born outside of wedlock, or if it was for mothers that were killed. But
It's very possible either. But to this day, yes, it is still very much a place where you blame victims. If anything is wrong in a marriage, it is the woman's fault. I think I hate to yell patriarchy, but that's 100% what it is.
Why do you hate to yell patriarchy?
I just think that it's overdone, and a lot of the times when I hear people yelling patriarchy, the type of person it's attached to is just insufferable social justice warrior, and I hate to virtue signal, but it's very personal to me. The way women are treated in the church, and how, like, I got cut off somewhere, but I've known a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old girl. One was molested directly within the church. It took over a month to fire the guy that did it. And the other one was molested by a cousin who was 20 plus years older than she was. And both of them were blamed for their being molested and or raped. Which, how do you do that? How do you go to a little 13-year-old and say, I know you were talking to the security guard, you told him to have a nice day. Did you maybe give him the signal to come into the bathroom with you? Wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that?
Exactly is the signal.
I don't know. It could be because she was nice to them. Think about how, like, incels think that just because I say, hi, how you doing today? Have a good day, it means I'm into you. And so this 13-year-old girl, everybody talks to the security guard. Like, I still see him around town. Like, people talk to him still. So everybody talks to him, and she was made to feel like absolute trash, even though he followed her into the bathroom at the church, into the girls' bathroom, and raped her. It was her fault for at least a month. Maybe her skirt was a little bit too short.
Oh.
And we're back
Maybe
to
her
look at
pants
what
were a
she was
little bit
wearing.
too tight.
It's so depressing, this society we've created.
It is, but it's real. And Tom wanted to know if it was still current. It still currently goes on.
Well, there was that senator that said the body rejects a pregnancy if it's rape, so that's why abortion can't be legal.
That's right. Or the body just won't allow a man to get in there if it's rape.
Oh,
so there's no such thing as rape. I mean, look at the chick in Georgia right now who is 100% dead, being left on life support because she's 9 weeks pregnant. They're going to try to make her keep that baby full term, even though the baby's not viable. They don't think the baby will survive. And she's dead. They're incubating the baby in a corpse.
Oh, I did read about that. I heard about it.
My question is who's paying for that? Because the parents, everybody involved wants her to go ahead and let go. But the hospital is keeping her alive for legal purposes. Who's getting the hospital bill? What if the baby does survive and is horribly, horribly handicapped? Who's taking care of that baby? Who has to pay for those hospital bills?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, because it won't be getting good nutrients from a corpse, will it?
Correct. Right. They basically say everything behind its eyes is mush now anyway. But they're keeping it because, she was over 8 weeks pregnant, so they can't do an abortion, even though she's dead.
World's gone to hell. You know whose fault it is, don't you?
Jodie Foster's.
Jodie fucking Foster.
What a bitch.
No, I don't
See,
know the
I didn't
Jodie
even-
Foster angle.
Oh, dear God, not another one of you Jodie Foster deniers. Okay, John Hinckley saw the movie Taxi. Taxi starred Jodie Foster. John Hinckley decided to shoot President Reagan. President Reagan got re-elected off the back of that and tore down the Berlin Wall with his own 2 hands and ended the Cold War. If Jodie Foster had never been in Taxi, the Cold War would never have ended and we'd be living in fear of a Soviet nuclear annihilation instead of worrying what gender we are. Okay? The whole collapse of Western civilization can be traced back to Jodie Foster.
Okay.
This is just a theory, all right? This is provable science.
He has
Okay.
been touting it for like 10 years. One day it's going to catch on.
I've
One
got
day, one day
question.
people are going to wake up. And yes, John Hinckley did shoot Ronald Reagan because of what she was wearing Taxi. Okay, we never talk about that fact neither.
Because of what she was wearing in Texas.
Because of what she was wearing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, can I just thought one last question? I mean, I
It's
must
not serious, is it? Because like,
My- almost done. My wife's a Christian. There's a lot of very, very good, very kind, very caring people at her church that I go to that I genuinely do not believe would victim blame in a rape situation. So I just wanted to give a little nod really to say, this is not all Christians.
Yeah, obviously not all Christians, just like not all men. Now, if the shoe fits and you're offended, then wear it by all means. But absolutely not all Christians. I love plenty of Christians and people that love God. I just have zero tolerance for, honestly, mostly the men in churches. I've never felt belittled by another woman in church for the most part. It's always been like the counselors that are men, the deacons, stuff like that. Like, it's an entitlement you get when you're born with a penis there. But I love many Christians. I really do. I spend a lot of time in church. I've had some good church experiences, but I don't foresee me ever going back to church. God and I are cool solo. We got a good thing going on.
Yeah.
Thomas Cromwell said much the same thing.
Okay. So no, that was all I wanted to say, really. So
Yeah, not
And
all
respond-
Christians, not all men.
In
There you
response
go.
to what you said, Tom, I will respond with a statement of my own and say, if you have a police station with 13 cops, 12 of them are really good and one of them's bad, but the 12 don't do anything about the bad one, then there are 13 bad cops at that police station. All right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how good a person is if they don't do anything about it.
That's right. You're just as bad as the person doing evil if you say nothing about it.
Mhm. And on that incredibly depressing note of this incredibly depressing show, that'll wrap us up for this week. We might return next week. Don't know. Despite the hopes of many. It's good night from me, and it's good night from them. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, people.